All right, today we're going to talk about something pretty staggering, the price of failure. We're going to dig into the numbers behind a huge California program, one that was supposed to tackle homelessness and mental illness. And what the source material shows us, well, it's a shocking gap between what was promised and what was actually delivered.
So let's start with the price tag for a program called Care Court. $236 million. I mean, that is a massive investment. So the big question, the only question that really matters is, what did taxpayers actually get for all that money?
And the answer, according to the public reports, is this: 22. That's the number of people the program successfully helped. Just 22 individuals. You know, when I first saw that number, I honestly had to check it again. I thought it had to be a typo.
So, look, the math here is pretty simple, and it's just unavoidable. You take that $236 million, you divide it by the 22 people who were helped, and you get this: over $10 million per person. Just let that sit for a second.
Okay, so to understand how we even got to a number like that, we have to rewind a bit. Let's go back to the beginning. What was this Care Court program even supposed to do? What was the promise?
So Care Court was launched back in 2022, and the whole idea was to create this brand new civil court process. It was specifically designed to get folks who are really struggling with severe mental illness and substance abuse, the people we often see living on the streets, into treatment plans that were ordered by a court.
And the goals here, they were incredibly ambitious. The state itself projected it would help somewhere between 7,000 and 12,000 people. Some projections went even higher, tossing around numbers like 50,000. This thing was sold as a total game changer, a new paradigm for compassionate care, a real solution to street homelessness.
So, that was the big promise. Bold, ambitious, and very expensive. Now, let's compare that promise side by side with the reality of what happened.
And this chart really just lays it all out, plain and simple. The promise was to help thousands, maybe even tens of thousands of people. The reality, 22. Now the spending, that was right on track, $236 million. The gap between what was expected and what actually happened is, well, it's just staggering.
And I really want to emphasize this because it's so important. We're not talking about 22,000. We're not even talking about 2,200. We are talking about 22. This wasn't a program that just fell a little short. The result was a tiny fraction of even the most conservative goal.
So what happens when a huge, high-profile program, a signature policy, ends up with results like this? Well, a lot of the time, the story starts to change. So let's look at the tone from the program's biggest champion, Governor Gavin Newsom, before all this, and then after.
When this whole thing was kicking off, the confidence was, well, it was absolute. In an interview you might have seen, Governor Newsom wasn't just hopeful that Care Court would work. He was certain. He said, and this is a direct quote, "I don't think it, I know it."
And the actual result, 22 people.
And this is where we see that classic narrative shift. On one side, you have the before, taking all the credit, so certain of success that any criticism was met with the dismissive, "spare me." And then, on the other side, you have the after. The blame gets shifted. Suddenly, it's the county's fault for not implementing it correctly. The governor even said, "I'm not the mayor of California."
So you see the pivot, right? It's a complete 180. The story goes from taking all the credit for something that hasn't happened yet to taking absolutely no blame for what actually did happen. It is a textbook political move. All the credit, none of the blame.
All right, so what's the final verdict here? What are we supposed to take away from all of this? If you look past the numbers and the political spin, what's the real story? Let's get to it.
And look, this really isn't about being left or right. It's not about politics. It's about something way more fundamental. It's about accountability. It's about simple math. And it's about asking a very basic question: where did our taxpayer money actually go?
There's an analogy in the source material that really puts this into perspective. It says, if you spent your family's entire savings and said, "We learned from it," you'd be sleeping in your car. And that just hits home, right? For a government, this is a learning experience. For a regular family, it would be absolutely devastating.
And this really gets to the core of it all. The whole point was supposed to be about compassion, about helping the most vulnerable people in our communities. But let's be real. Wasting hundreds of millions of dollars while people are still suffering on the streets, that is not compassion.
No, what it is bureaucracy with a really, really good marketing slogan.
Which leaves us with one final big question. After 4 years and after spending $236 million to get just 22 results, what is the true price of failure? Because it's not just about the money, is it? It's about the trust that gets lost. It's about the real people who were promised help that just never came.